to the next game. For this one, I will be Myriad. Myriad is going to be joining us for the second cast, but for now, you guys are stuck with me. And after listening to that amazing interview by Mr. DeMu, I hope you guys are fired up. I did feel bad for poor Vault that he threw under the bus there.
Everyone's throwing Vault under the bus today, and it's not nice, people. Please stop it.
Storm and Kiljardy, we know that if Kiljardy gets to that point, then he definitely is gonna have a DeMu vengeful moment. But
Okay, who's gonna take Kiljardy's place in DeMu's room tonight and poke DeMu all night long?
oof, that is gonna be a tough cuddle, isn't it?
I'm still so weirded out because usually there's this tension when Myriad's standing next to me. I always feel like, oh. But no, it's just gone.
No, it's just gone. It's me. I'm here. Okay, well, Myriad is going to be here with his wonderful, deep British accent, and you guys are going to be blessed with it pretty soon. But until then, you'll have to deal with the fake South African one on the cast instead.
You can always do the Marine Lord one.
Okay,
It always works.
But we can see with the decider match today, we have many civilizations, and I don't think any of these players can play anyway. So why did I even pick civilizations if Beastie Cutie is only going to win this land because I am not here? So
Love it.
yes, what do you think about this draft, Mr. Escalate?
I mean, I'm looking already at the first map because they already spotted it for it. It's right.
It's right there.
It's over here.
Oh my god, wait. Is that a donation bar as well? Remember, guys, you're supporting the lad, and we have our player updates there. DeMu not 3-0ing Baltune yet. The score will follow. Hold up. No predictions yet. Twitch chat, this is on you. Go predict in the chat. You win absolutely nothing, but a lot of clout. And
Baltune took a game yesterday.
Yes. And is it going to be the reverse sweep? A lot of people say when you win that first set, they come for you the second one. So we'll see if DeMu and Baltune will repeat history with every single time the reverse happens. DeMu needs to be on his A game here, and that poor scout looks like he got tickled a little bit. I see a spearman also coming out from Mr. DeMu, so I feel like this Dark Age action that we're about to experience is going to have quite a shenanigan, Mr. Sirs.
Yeah, DeMu was talking earlier about that curveball he likes to throw. Now, it's not exactly super big news that HRE likes to burn Malian pit mines, but Baltune's gonna be happy about his spawn right there with the pit mine also blocking off the access, and then he has the gold all the way in the back, but also has all the gold in the same direction, so that's gonna be a tough one for him. He needs to hold that. It's always a little bit of a double-edged sword for people if you have all your resources in one place. Only one space to defend, and only one space that your opponent has to take.
The problem, I think, here for DeMu is we saw that scout, and that scout was pretty barren. DeMu needs to go back, he needs to go deliver those sheep, and he's not going to have a lot of those. So those 4 spearmen that he invested in, that's going to be expensive. Now, those 4 spears heading directly for the pit mine, and like you just said, that thing's at the back. It is a pretty good spawn for all the Malians out there, ladies and gentlemen. You want to have your gold at the back when you are dealing with this Dark Age shenanigans coming your way.
Spear arrives, but the tower is almost up, and it will cover all of this right now. So that's a nice position for Baltune. Should have put that one house a little bit further out so you can fit the mining camp right next to the tower, but this is fine. This is good. It will idle out Villager, however, as long as he has to garrison them.
Now, that's pretty interesting for me, the fact that he's building the mill right there too. I feel like he's trying to get as much work out of this villager as possible because he knows that there is going to be some idle. Look at that food, though. Now, what I want to point out is, yes, he doesn't have the mining camp right there. And yes, not optimal, but it's okay. Malians is in a position right now where Malians, they don't necessarily go for gold that early. The passive gold that they get from the pit mines, it's pretty okay, but considering, like you said earlier, we have both the other gold mines in the same direction. So if DeMu can secure this side, it's going to be really, really tough for Baltune to actually get there. And putting the mill there, we see now what that big brain of Baltune has been cooking. He just wants to make sure he gets the least amount of idle time with the most amount of damage while ensuring those vills are steadily at work. Mansa Quarry only, I was going to say only with 3, but no, the man is not cooking anything too crazy today. He is going to age up with 5.
DeMu is just being a pest here. He moves in every time he puts on the more HP spearmen in the front, just so he doesn't get taken out. And that house will eventually catch fire and then cause even more idle time, unless Baltune now pulls a Vil. to prevent that and just heal it up. But that's even more idle time. And behind that, look at DeMu's resources. Mine work is coming this time around.
And this is what Beastie was talking about in the last cast. He said, let's get a little bit more mine work in this game. DeMu, he took the note and he's like, hey, I'm listening, sirs, and he's following suit. Now, what I want to point out to you guys, that little bit of repair time from the villager is not just about the idle time, but Malians is so sensitive to losing their wood early on. When you are playing Malians, you have only a little bit of wood to invest because you go for all those straggler trees and you get quite a bit of them from the get-go. So it does become a little bit iffy when you need to waste a little bit of wood trying to repair that house. So idle time plus the reparation costs is definitely not going to be a fun time for Baltune. But now we'll see what DeMu does with that palace and 2 prelates at that. I was actually asking that exact question. Do you just get that extra prelate to inspire? Because, you know, the might work is now not going to give you the chapelle, but you are able to inspire your villagers anyway, making them work even harder, faster, longer, and stronger, and more resources. Very nice. All of the above.
Naturally, we have those 4 hurt spears. He could just pull them back and heal them back up, but for now he just wants to be more annoying. And this time, one of the houses might just be out of range without an arrow slit in there. Yes, so they are.
2 of them, actually.
We do see the archery range coming up as a reaction to this, but that one house might not be saved in time. Baltune choosing to not swap around his quarry to get that arrow slit emplacement on the tower. Instead, we see the archery range coming up. There is no stable right now, but we still see professional scouts on the way.
I want you guys to notice, I don't know if you guys saw Baltune's face, but he forgot professional scouts. You could see it in his face. He was like looking like, oh, and you could see the resources was a little bit over. So this professional scouts, it was delayed. And DeMu, honestly, he is not waiting for the professional scout game. This man is going straight for the aggression. Ladies and gentlemen, take out your books. We are going to be learning how to do HRE and feudal. No more castle required.
Good times. Now, with the Minework Palace, we get special techs, we get cheaper blacksmith upgrades, and also we don't have to invest in a blacksmith, so that's nice. But
It's
look at that.
always nice.
Already archers on the field, we see extra spears being added. I do think we'll just stay on that infantry comp, and Baltune, he's just gonna go straight into the javelin throwers. Which, of course, they do cost quite a bit of gold. It does delay the Malian cowboom. It does delay all of the upgrades.
And now with him going for pro scouts, the problem is I want you guys to look at the deer spawns. DeMu doesn't just get control of the golds. He also gets control of every single deer by making sure that he has his presence on that side. Him retreating now does open a little bit of a space for Baltune to try and get a few deer. But that investment is so big if you consider the fact that you're now just going to be able to get maybe 1 pack of deer in all of it.
Yeah, Baltune would love to draw some walls right straight through the wood lines into the side, just encasing that entire corner there for himself. But DeMu's not going to let him. He knows this position is amazing. If he can hold this space, he will be just fine.
Now, Baltune is getting as much value as he can with these. You know, we can see even try to go for that second pit mine, but running into a party here at his base. And remember what we talked about a little bit earlier, Twitch chat. We talked about the fact that people stop scouting currently in this meta because you're pro scouting. So you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go pick up deer. That's where the most value from my scouts are gonna go. So Baltune may have been very ignorant about what's coming. That scout getting very, very low. And HRE, he doesn't mind chasing these guys down.
Yeah, the faster archers here will be able to catch up. Not even needed. Spear melee charge is just enough. And DeMu's just gonna keep on massing up. Baltune on 5 javelin throwers now. But as I said, these guys pretty pricey. And he can only queue them 1 by 1. Only has the 1 archery range, but he's already going into the cow boom.
Now, he knows this is a limited edition amount of gold that he has. This gold is going to be pressured off of it. He needs to capitalize on what he can now. A lot of villages in gold. Seeing 7 this early from Malians is out of the question, usually. You do not get that much, especially this early on in the game. He's focusing on getting those javelins out. They have amazing base damage. They're going to deal with most of these archers. And spearmen, they do okay against, but you want to make sure that you get as much high-value units out while you can. That's why he's queuing them up and he's getting cows, as is going on. 2 cows currently in the camps. Now, That's not the amount of cows we're hoping for, but it is what he can afford right now. So he's doing as much as he can. We see those pro scouts trying to scout a little bit, picking up some deer.
He's sneaking one away from DeMu. I do enjoy that play. We'll see if he realizes what's going on in the back of his base there. But what we also see is an immediate ram push. We have 7 defending units. We've got 27 attackers.
And the problem is that blacksmith is very far forward now as well. He's got the +1 range defense to make sure that he doesn't die to the archer numbers, because that is 16 archers. That is a lot. Those villagers are going to be pulled back from that gold pretty soon when he sees those archers coming into range. The javelins are going to try to target fire as much as they can without them firing back. Villagers now pulling back as well. Tower has been upgraded, so it's going to help a little bit, but these units feel very cocky and they're diving quite a bit.
Yeah, Baltune just has to go in, poke, and then retreat every single time, because these archers, they do have higher damage in a sustained fight. So all he has to do is step out, burst one down, step back in. Unless DeMu does him the favor of just standing right under there. But 2 houses are already gone. Hitmine itself is now being threatened, and that ram still is almost full HP.
These spearmen are just allowing him to be a little bit more greedy, because they do absorb the shots quite well, and this means that Baltune needs to spend some energy on actioning, selecting those units, trying to kill. Now, the archer numbers aren't that great right now, but the javelins are in range, so the archers are going to be able to fire down. Archers can refocus onto villagers as well, and that's exactly what they do. They get only 1 single victim, but these javelin throws are expensive, and they're standing so far forward.
But just barely can no longer one-shot. That's so painful for him now. But same thing for DeMu, and he realizes it does not want to trade away all of his archers. Yes, as we see another yoink.
And it's not just about yoinking and putting them in the base. We see a little dead deer there in the far corner as well. That man is just moving the deer out of prime position. The cheeky boy he is. Baltune, not just the master of the scouts, at that, but also the master of getting the deer out of range. Very nice. Master of shenanigans.
I was gonna say, I was a little bit surprised about the early cows, but now they're really paying off. Already 6 units there in the cattle ranches producing free food for him. So this eco count is a little bit misleading, and we do get a free ram right there. A little bit too slow. Baltune, you're moving out on the map. That is very scary, because DeMu heading in his own horsemen, and I don't know if Baltune has seen them.
And the problem is not just about the fact that there's going to be a horseman in the mix. There's a lot of horsemen in the mix, and when those horsemen get on top of your units, it's so hard to peel them off. Now Baltune, let's see if he takes the bait. In these guys moving in slowly. The scout is aware of these horsemen, but with those amount of javelin throwers, you can handle them pretty well. +1 upgrade about to kick in. I think it's going to be a little bit late. He pulls back. He doesn't want to go too far out. Scout, don't have vision on that man just yet. Don't know if his eyes have been exposed. Oh, they are out and about on the ground, and the army is moving forward. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very fast army from HRE. They do have that extra movement speed, so these Javies, they need to be a little bit more careful. Donzo's now being put in the mix to ensure that he doesn't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, Baltune wants nothing to do with that army right now. He needs to pull back. We do see the Donzos coming in, but DeMu already stopped making horsemen. Made 5 and then stopped. Nice play by him. Baltune getting the upgrade in, and all of Baltune's scouts actually died at some point, so he was not pro-scouting through all of that. Instead, we got 10 cows already. I'm not sure if DeMu is aware of that. I don't think so. I think he'll just expect to see all of the deer gone, and now he's here and is like, where are all the scouts? Why is he not using them? But we do have some nice connections, and still only 1 villager down. I'll say only, but the wood line is exposed, and DeMu is just moving in. There's the first victim. There's another one, and we've got 4 down total.
But the problem is those javelins are so good at hitting like a truck. DeMu is feigning aggression. He's trying to show Baltune, hey, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to keep pushing, but behind this, the man is cooking castle, and I don't know if Baltune is going to be ready for what he's serving, because look at those amount of prelates. He is going to get those guys into the perfect position once he starts, and he's going to get the age up alongside a bunch of relics as well. Now with this horseman though, he needs to be careful because every single time he loses, that javelin army is going to start looking scarier and scarier. And with those numbers that Baltune has, he's actually going to be able to one-tap most units coming his way.
Yeah, Baltune must be smelling that because he does not see DeMu's army increase that much in size. But is he actually fine with that? Of course, he's probably not aware. He's probably not aware that DeMu already on 3 prelates out and about. He doesn't have a vision on the Ragnits, so he'll still not move out fully, not contest this, and DeMu is just fine with that. We've got 12 cows, we get the horticulture now. Baltune is setting up for his own castle age.
Now Baltune setting up for the castle age with 12 cows, that feels pretty good. Because you know,
he just went up.
17, girl!
Well, someone's not updating the counter.
I wonder if that is...
Oh my god, I'm just gonna see myself.
It's okay, it's okay. The counter is updated, the day has been saved, and Regnus is finished. Now the upgrades do take a while to go in. We see one relic already being picked up, but these javelin throwers are gaining a lot of damage on this army, and DeMu needs to find a way to replace them. He goes for crossbows alongside this, and the thing about crossbows are, they don't do too well against javelins, and I don't see any armored units coming out of Mr. Baltune there.
There's no Sofas at all. Sofas being the only armored Malian unit that he could use those against. Maybe he'll still go back into archers. Usually it's just archer. Horseman is great. Spears do decently. You do like some Landsknecht here and there, and you do want a sort of frontline in your own armored units as long as there are not too many Musafaris.
Now, I just want to point out the fact that we heard before that with HRE, you're just going to run over Malians. But now, I'm seeing a very aggressive Baltune. A Baltune that is responding to a very beastie spawn position as well. And he's just taking over the Marine Lord type of pushing that's coming his way. So, honestly, Baltune doing an amazing job at being at a little bit of a disadvantage quite early on, especially with DeMu making those sneaky shenanigans moves as he's going forward. But what I really want to see is how is DeMu going to sustain this food? We did see a tower there that got a little bit reinforced to make sure he's got some safe food there as well. But back at the base, there's only a handful of farms. And keep in mind, those are not inspired farms. Those are just normal farms. Those are not the HRE farms that we care about and complain about and make Reddit posts about.
They used to be inspired, I'll give him that. They used to be inspired, but right now his old men are busy picking up heavy furniture.
Those relics are going to look lovely in his base, especially paired with a wonderful emplacement every spot in the base. We know a good HRE base looks amazing when you give it time, but now the age up has come through and we're about to see that food counter skyrocket.
So there's 30 seconds until those upgrades hit, but these 30 seconds are very long indeed for Baltune because DeMu just picked up all 5 relics and is moving them across the map. This is looking real grim for him now, and this is why we say that HRE just runs over Malians because the timing's just not there to stop them.
Now, the problem for Malians is they need to find an answer quickly. Like you said, they don't have anything to stop them, but I feel like Baltune, he has this opening now. You do see the food per minute skyrocketing for Baltune. It was at 700, now over 1,000. This could be largely to those cows just generating wonderful amounts of income back in the base, and the upgrades are about to kick in, plus 2 range damage. Wheelbarrow, I know it's just a random one, but wheelbarrow as well. Those villagers are going to run extra fast. Love that for them. But all the units as well, these things are going to get hit or going to be hitting so hard. And DeMu is still investing in a lot of archers. Now, you usually do this when you're playing against a very heavy Musafadi army, and that's exactly what Baltune is making. This allows you to respond and be able to make those armored units that the Musafadis are so good at dealing with.
Baltune, meanwhile, setting up 3 pit mines behind is just trying to catch up in some way, but the 5 relics in the Ragnits is a scary, scary play. We'll see if DeMu is going for the greedy option, just going straight to Imperial here, or if he's actually just gonna... No, we see extra minework upgrades with the Super Knights, as I love to call them. The Steel Browning is coming in with some juicy armor for them. It turns them into monsters for tanking. And DeMu's just moving out. His army is massive. He's going to be moving faster, but Baltune not too far off. in the army count.
The problem is the army count may look even, but it's not even. You can see in the army value, technically, it looks a little bit off here, but those are knights, and those are very, very tanky knights pretty soon. They do take a lot of damage. The Donzos going right through the Muzaffadis, making quick work of them as well. And with the javelins, they do have to start target firing these archers because the archers are just in such a big mass that they're going to be able to take care of things even if they just aim move. And those javelins are not doing too well against them right now.
It's very hard to micro this if you're Baltune right now, if you're any Malian player, because every time you have to move your entire army back, all of your shift-queued attack moves, because you want to split up your javelin throws on different archers, because 6 of them will be able to just one-shot, everything else is overkill, will just be reset. And it's so tedious to do.
And look at that knight count from DeMu. Those knights now reinforced, now extra spicy. They are going to be running right through this army. Baltune deciding to switch it up with a different type of unit coming our way. We do hear them coming out of those stables. No who's clonking up against the ground, but they're not going to do that well against Minework Knights. Minework Knights just made of the best armor in all of the dynasties, in all of the kingdoms. These guys are going to be ready for a fight. Look at them. Beautifully running back to base. But now the thing is, DeMu's base is starting to open up. Even though it opens up, we have 5 relics, right? We get to make towers, we get to put them in there, reinforce those boys, and then we are not worried about anything that Malian has on offer.
The sprinkled emplacements are already set up. We've got one more fortification going in there, and DeMu with the increased view range, he sees the sofa that is riding with the army. Though some on the corner bottom side just want to go through. Okay, they are revealed as they step on the sacred side, and they found some purple friends.
Now that purple friend is going to be going back home, but his bodyguards have something to say about this. The thing is, there's only 7 of these bodyguards, as I call them, but they can still do some pretty good damage. And 4 legs, they're outrunning everything. The 2 of them
a little
did go
late
down.
on pulling back there, loses 3 knights basically for free. A little bit of it on the rough side there. That's a big blow to his army count, but there's more where that came from. And is DeMu reacting in any way, shape or form in the form of his composition? Yeah, we do see some crossbows being added now.
Now, what I want you guys to look at is the food per minute. DeMu has depleted those outside resources. I say depleted, but he's going on the berries right in front of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, those berries are going to sustain him for another while longer. But what then? And Baltune is just going to be able to keep on producing.
Yeah, Baltune's set up. I do wonder how many farms we'll see now in the HRE base. I see some in the back there, but not a whole lot. In total, 600, close to 700 food per minute. Baltune coming in from the top. If he can get those towers down in time, because they will be outside of auto repair range, then he can potentially sneak away relics. But it's a tall order right now. Army numbers are very equal, and yeah, he can't really take a fight under that relic up Springle Tower.
I want you guys to know that those 3 archers who are going to have poison arrows, they're going to be the best archer the army has ever seen, but they need some time to get there. The sofas are trying to extend. The crossbows ready for it though, and the Donzos, it feels like they're taking a lot of damage for what they can do right now.
Yeah, you do see that Baltune wants to avoid getting hit with the crossbows on his sofa, but he also wants to avoid getting hit with the archers on his Donzos. So it's a little rough right now. And DeMu's just standing there shooting. Baltune losing a lot of his military in this fight, and the Minework Knights, they're still up, still going. All the Donzos are dead.
Now, DeMu having these very nice units. He's having a good time. He might feel confident in this, but keep in mind, guys, there's a little bit of a timer with the food. I feel like because of the relics, he's still fine. He's got the sacred sites as well, now pulled off of gold completely, and we still see almost 1,000 gold per minute. All those relics, the sacred sites. This man, he is drowning in gold, and now he can put 41 on food, apparently. And that is a number we usually don't see when you have 68 villagers.
41 on food is scary, and we do see he's on 1900 food almost. He's gonna push in now. Baltune adding a second Hound Center sometime in the last 2-3 minutes, and it's not gonna be long for this world because he'll not be able to hold that. DeMu pushing in with 34 archers, 11 crossbows there, and he still has the knight front line.
Usually you don't want to fight under a TC, but this TC is not that spicy, and the units out of DeMu, they do not care that much. We can see there's a few Lancers. Knights can take a good punch, but Baltune is just not able to produce enough units to take this down. He's got Sofas in the queue, he's got Musafatis, but those archers are just burning through them. We see a knight in the villager line as well, just eating everything on the side there. He's having a great time.
Just dropping all, everything's dead, and yeah, I mean, 5 relic HRE right there. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Now, this feels great for DeMu. He just did quite a bit of damage to the man. But again, this is an unfavorable matchup as far as I'm aware for Baltune. He made it look good. He made it look like it was not. It made it look like he's ready for this. He doesn't care what the matchup is. He's going to put up a good show, and he's going to make it look like DeMu is going to work for this. And I'm glad about that. I want to see Baltune make DeMu sweat. That big bald head of his, we're going to be seeing the sweat drip from it as Baltune is going to make sure the work is done. But ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of handing over to the best British-speaking but Hungarian man in the lands. Myriad is here to take control of the voice. Myriad, take it away, sir.
Everyone, greet my newest co-caster here. I do love my new women. Oh, I missed that.
Good to be here. Hello, everyone.
Good to be here. That's nice to hear. I saw you taking a little bit of time there after your last match. It was a rough series, but let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about the rough series that Baltune just had going on. Would you say it was a straight-up draft loss? What do you think he expected on Coastal Cliffs? Was this the matchup that he was running into anyway?
I'd have to see the drafts again to comment for certain, but I mean, Malians HRE, it is one of those matchups that's just very difficult from the get-go. The issue is, on Coastal Cliffs, there is a chance that the gold spawns in the back, which it did in this case for Malians, in which case it's a bit more manageable. Now, Baltune opted for the tower for the defense instead of going for his own Dark Age barracks and going for Donzos to defend, which, you know, is sort of a stylistic choice as to which is better. Some people think Donzos are better, some people think the tower's better, but they both have their strengths and weaknesses. But the real issue is, once you get to feudal, right? I mean, the problem is the HRE can just pump so much with that Archon, and it's very difficult for Malians to keep up. The Malians have so much to do. I mean, they need to get their cows, they might have to get pro scouts as well if they so choose. On top of it, they need the upgrades, they need the pit mine. All of this leaves them very exposed, and in that early game, when HRE does have that mass advantage in terms of army, you know, one slip up here and there can be catastrophic, really, in the long run.
Yeah, I usually see the attempt more into more army and more contesting on the deer, but this time Baltune just went straight for the cow boom. I like the approach, but DeMu still got 5 relics. It's like, we've seen that before quite a bit in that matchup.
Yeah, and we know once HRE has 5 relics with Regnitz, it's very difficult to lose in that position. I mean, the income just becomes, you know, monumental, really. I mean, what can you really do in that position? There's, you know, a world where it's winnable, but not in this matchup, frankly. But speaking of matchups, we have our next one, and it is going to be OTD for Baltune against DeMu's Mongols on Himeyama.
Okay, let me pick your brain on this. OTD, I mean, you just play feudal, you have a little bit of fun. But can Mongols stop you from picking up deer? Can Mongols stop you from having that insane food income and just run away with the game with your stronger units?
I think Mongol can certainly stop the deer. The thing is here, right? I'm quite curious about the Dark Age because, sure, OTD has the Gilded Spearman, which is definitely no slouch in the Dark Age, but the issue comes with the stone and Uvu economy, right? If Mongols just keeps producing spears, the reality is they will overpower the Gilded Spearman, even if you go up to 2, 3, 4. If the Mongol keeps producing and double producing at that, which they should, they will eventually overwhelm that Dark Age, and they can eventually get the tower up on the gold if they so choose. Of course, it takes a big investment, but even just pushing off of gold would be enough. And, you know, with no gold, there's no pro scouts. With no pro scouts, there's no food. And then it becomes quite difficult for OTD indeed.
We do see the eyes already moving. These guys must already be starting loading into the game. And here we are, boys. Let's actually do the hype introduction that my lovely co-caster Bart usually does. We've got our purple player. We've got DeMu, the man, the might. He has the most experience here. He's playing our Mongols. And in the southern spawn, we've got our red player. And he is Baltune. We've seen him earlier in the day. He is insane on most of those civs. We'll see if he can make that Dark Age barracks work here and if DeMu will have one of his own.
Speaking of Dark Age barracks, we already have something being built on the Uvu. I do suspect it is in fact a barracks, as the distance is quite drastic for it to be a pasture, and indeed it is. So this is exactly what we expected, right?
I do have to ask you. Do you move your villager out to the Uvu and build the barracks there, or do you build the barracks next to your TC and drive it out? Is the timing better if you have the barracks up like a few seconds earlier, or do you want that villager working more?
So this is another one of those interesting choices that you have to make. With a distance like that, it is absolutely quicker on the spearman timing if you move the villager there to build the barracks, but of course that does result in more non-gathering time for the villager. So it depends whether you prefer the faster spearman timing or, you know, the further efficiency on the gathering. It's just one of those stylistic choices, right? Now, Baltune doing something a bit interesting here. He's actually moving across the map with the first spearman, which I find particularly greedy and risky here, because if those two spears that are double produced from DeMu do find that spearman, especially with the Khan poking away at it, that is a fight that the two spearmen will in fact win. We see the Ger now pushing away the deer just a bit, yeah.
This is a nice attempt here. He's just gonna poke the deer as long as DeMu's spears have not arrived. And yeah, with the Ger pushing the deer, DeMu's gonna find this particularly annoying. But yeah, now, as you said, Baltune's spear needs to run. He's all the way out there, all alone. And these guys, they will eventually catch up with the melee charge and the Khan's arrow in tow.
Very interesting move here by Baltune, I must say. Distracting the spears in order to kill some of those deer, drawing them towards the top side of the map, and Baltune taking this opportunity to gather up all the gold he needs for the age up and not need to invest any further in this Dark Age, because he knows, right, Baltune's a very, very good player. He understands that he can't stay in this Dark Age forever. He could keep producing spears, but there is a limit to how much we can get away with. Yeah, we saw just there, he put another one in queue, but he did decide to cancel it as he is going to get the gold he needs to age up, and yeah, Baltune wisely here is going to stick to the one spearman. It bought him the space he needed to actually get the gold necessary to age up here, and it's going to be the mine work, not too surprising here, especially with a spawn like this on Himeyama. There's not very fruitful wood lines on Himeyama, so mine work does tend to be the choice generally here. But the issue now for Baltune is going to be how exactly is he going to stop a tower here, if at all.
Maybe he was judging it just because he only saw the two spears. Yeah, maybe one's enough. If there's only two spears coming out, I'll be fine just standing here and getting enough gold for pro scouts, but this is not the case. His spear goes down and now he's gonna have to pull back. Khan also shooting the mining camp, so it cannot be deleted, so DeMu's gonna be snacking on a little bit of bounty there and almost runs into C range.
Quite unlikely for this mining camp to go down here, right? Emergency repairs is going to prove clutch in that regard for Baltune. Mine work is on the way, and now Deerstone's on the way for DeMu as well. Not too surprising. We have seen now recently, due to the Pro Scout, due to the food that Pro Scout gives you, Deerstone's becoming very, very popular for Mongols, and in particular, a certain very fast Imperial Age build has been gaining an immense amount of traction recently, and I must say, Askeladd, it has proved very, very oppressive in certain situations.
I have seen some streams, I have seen the mold about the random unit generator, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's gonna make an appearance right now. DeMu running around, he sees the mine work. As you said, no surprise there. Tower is up on the gold, so we'll not be seeing any pro scouting anytime soon. We'll need 160 more, and Deerstone's almost up. What do you think? If you're the Order of the Dragon in this situation, how do you get rid of the tower? Do you need to get rid of the tower?
It's tough, right? I mean, how exactly would you get rid of the tower in Feudal? You can't really afford seed engineering. There's only 110 gold in the bank. Men-at-Arms cost gold. You can't build too many of them. Spears, you know, even though they are gilded, they are vulnerable to arrow fire from the tower. You don't really have an effective way to get rid of it. Sure, you could go for textiles and use your stronger, tankier villagers to take it down, but that's definitely going to hurt. If you don't lose any, then you'll certainly lose a lot of resources in terms of idle time. But Baltune does in fact have a very nice and cozy back gold there, protected by wood lines to the north and to the south, and that is indeed what he will opt for here. Tower going up, not wasting any time in doing so. Mining camp now on the way as well. Whereas for DeMu, he is looking to not opt for Pro Scouts in this game. Instead, we have Wheelbarrow on the way and Arrow Slit upgrade on the tower as well. And look at this, very, very cheeky from DeMu. He's going to throw up another tower into this wood line. However, the length of the wood line is quite vertical and skinny in this regard. So it will be quite a while before those villagers get in range of that tower.
Yeah, he's still gonna have a lot of time to get more wood in, doesn't need to move as early. We also see the arrow defense real quick, because it's so much cheaper from the mine work, because he's expecting those archers to come in. I don't think he actually scouted them, so this is a blind read. We do also see there is a there's a steeled arrow on the way. So yeah, Baltune's gonna go into a heavy range composition. We have 1 man at arms on the field. And we do see that Khan Hunter coming in. Now, Khan Hunter with the Deerstone speed bonus and a mass archer composition, it's not great, not fun to play against. Oh, and Baltune scouts out the tower, but it's gonna go up. The villager is gonna, yes, make it even with gilded archers next to it.
There's just too much of a mass here, right? Even with the gilded men at arms and the 2 archers, the spot on the tower was just a little bit too late, and this is actually very rough here for Baltune, because when that Khan's Hunter does come here in play to provide the extra range, combined with the Falcon, we have seen this so many times in this tournament, but also in other recent events, where the Falcon, in combination with the extra range from the Aura, proves to be so oppressive on the wood lines, doesn't it? I mean, how exactly are you going to gather any lumber, right?
Yeah, we see DeMu moving around. I don't think he is quite aware that there is a tower on Baltune's back gold, but maybe he's also just gonna expect it, gonna just stay here and wait for his chance to shoot over that woodline as soon as the Falcon's ready. And Baltune must be aware of that, so he's gonna be sitting here and waiting, and it's a little oppressive feeling, I believe. Oh, we've got the ram coming. There is our answer for the tower.
Siege engineering has been prioritized here by Baltune after getting the ranged upgrades as well. And Pro Scout's now a late one in queue for him as well, which makes sense, right? You can't exactly greed for that too early, even with gold access now. You need to get some units here to defend, because with these small wood lines, there's so many entryways for the Mongol, who does like to be very aggressive in this early game. And, you know, skimping on units here is a surefire way to get yourself killed. But now we have an engagement coming in. The men-at-arm does a good job of tanking the charge of the spears and the Keshik, but the numbers here definitely favor DeMu, right? And with the extra range from the Khan's Hunter, it will be quite difficult to take this fight. However, the upgrade advantage is in favor of Baltune. Gilded archers are very strong, but the scale armor is only encapsulated, so they are vulnerable to this arrow fire even with the upgrades. The tower will go down, however, it is a heavy price for Baltune to pay here. 3 archers down, a 4th one looks to go down as well, so it shall. Men-at-arms are very low. There's no way to heal them in the feudal age, unlike for HRE, so he's going to look to want to save that for now. But at least the tower did go down for him. However, he is still pushed off of the wood line.
Oh, he barely manages to save that man-at-arm, but yeah, that was a costly defense for Baltune. Tower is down. DeMu's villager went home earlier, so it's not going to be immediately replaced right there. Now, is it worth to replace this tower just to get the Deerstone buff on your army as you move around the base?
Probably not, right? I mean, going back all the way across the map with the villager, even if you do get the tower up, then going all the way back once more is just a bit too big of an investment, even with Wheelbarrow. And there's no guarantee that that tower goes up, right? I mean, Defender's Advantage is a very real phenomenon in Age of Empires 4. It just logically makes sense that in a relatively even game, the opponent will have a larger army mass on their third of the map as opposed to you. So getting a later tower here, if it's scouted, is very, very unlikely. And, you know, if that villager is spotted and, you know, God forbid, killed out.
Reaction on that villager pull, but none of the vills go down, just barely makes it out alive. And on the other side, we do see another ram going for that other tower. And this time, DeMu's army mass is even bigger. So I'm a little worried for the Tuna here, but pulls his men-at-arms in and now pops them back out to defend at the front.
Golden Kuras is now in for Baltune. That's going to prove very, very significant for his front line of men-at-arms in this fight. Now, Keshiks, as acting as a pseudo-knight, are generally, of course, a counter to men-at-arms in all forms. So it's not exactly a fight you want to take too often if you are Baltune, even with the Golden Kuras, because although they are very, very tanky, they don't do much damage. So the Keshiks will be healing off of their large health pools for days if the fights are to continue for a longer while. DeMu now opting for the Deer because, of course, he didn't go for Pro Scouts this time around. Another little raid attempt here on the gold. Any idle time is very, very useful for DeMu here. If you can delay that Castle Age, if you can delay that Pro Scouts, which I'm not sure whether Baltune allowed it to finish or not. We did see it in Q.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. We do have a very
right
nice split
there.
screen, yeah.
He's grabbing them from the bottom side, but Demu's army is right there, sees the scout moving over, and that is no deer for Baltune. His food will be running very low. He still has the corner berries, but I don't think his sheep will hold up much longer.
His sheep definitely won't hold up much longer, and, you know, investing into these scouts is very, very expensive. And with such mobility that the Mongols have on maps in general, right, but especially on an open map like this, with, of course, the Yamora from the Deer Stones, as well as the Khan, and Keshiks naturally being a cavalry unit, a faster one at that, it's gonna be so difficult to get any deer in.
Oh my, Baltune read him right there. Demu trying to put up a tower on the deer camp, but Baltune moving the ram over and the tower gets cancelled.
Very, very sneaky play there by Demo. Almost gets away with it, but Baltune is perceptive and does spot it. But the issue is now the army mass is looking very, very scary here from Demo, and Baltune is quickly running out of food. There is no real hope for him to move across the map here or push back this mass. The reality is that OTD feudal is not really something that they are known for, right? Their feudal age strength is just not there compared to other civilizations, which in my opinion includes the Mongols. So the longer this goes like this, I think just realistically speaking, the worse it's going to get for Baltune. He wants to try to get out of feudal age ASAP, but how is he going to do so?
Yeah, they become very strong if you have all of the food in the world that Pro Scout usually provides you, but Demo's doing a great job denying all the deer. And here we have the other option. Instead of putting up outposts all around the base, you can just move your deer stones in front, and then you have the speed aura anyway. Baltune, though, he's looking for the fight, and Demu has a lot of army here, gets a nice connection, and there is how many Gilded Spears? Just the third one arriving, and they're just being focused out immediately. So those Keshik, they don't have really an answer. And the Gilded Archers, while they do a lot of damage, there's 29 archers for the Mongols.
Not only 29 archers, but the additional range is just too much for Baltune as Demu takes game number 2 in a pretty decisive fashion here with the Mongols against Baltune's OTD. Now that was a quick game, I expect.
That was clinical. That was, yeah. We saw in the interview, Ben likes to throw people on the buses, and he does like to play against Baltune.
Well, he certainly showed here why today. I mean, the first game was also very, very cleanly executed. Certainly the mine work I didn't personally expect, but he definitely utilized it to its full extent, making spears, horsemen, and, of course, knights, which are the units that most benefit from it. And here, I mean, never unrelenting pressure here from Demu in this game, right? Not giving Baltune any room to breathe, just knowing how scary OTD can be if they do get access to that day, if they do manage to get up safely with the Burgrave Palace and start getting an insane amount of value from the discount that it provides. Demu says, not today, as he just doesn't take the foot off the pedal, not even for a second this game.
Yeah, really costly fights for Baltune all around, and Demu is just realizing his advantage and completely denying the food. Now, if you don't go for Pro Scouts in that situation, I mean, you kind of have to, right? You cannot break out, even if Pro Scouts would be another 300 resources that you have in the bank, that if you save them, even if you go for farms instead, it's just not enough. You have to fight for outside resources.
It's not enough, and it's so difficult, right? I mean, without Pro Scouts, sure, you will have slightly more units as OTD, but your army is frankly simply weaker than the Mongol army, right? You have the extra range on the archers from the Khan's Hunter. You have the pseudo-knight that heals and easily deals with your premium unit in Feudal, which is the men-at-arms, even with Golden Cuirass.
Yeah, all that you basically have on your units is the extra health, and Keshik love extra health. They love hitting you more.
That they do. We see the graphs. Good APM there for Baltune, but unfortunately, you know, there's only so much you can do within a game. total resources gathered definitely favoring DeMu there. And you can see that, I mean, Pro Scouts, although it might be the dominant function in the current meta, sometimes it's a good idea to skip it, as in this game he proved so.
If we're being honest, DeMu could probably have gone for Pro Scouts and done almost as well, but let's not mention that fact.
A possibility indeed. I mean, it's a difficult one to call, right? Because if he does opt for that Pro Scouts, it will lead to a smaller army mass initially, which might give Baltune potentially some space to get his own day. But, you know, hindsight is 2020, they say. So, who knows? It's a different game for another time, that one.
Guys, you can see what's on Myriad's mind, inside his mind, right there. We're up to 6,500! Thanks to all of you. So once again, we're going to shout that out because we're huge sellouts. No, we're not. We have all of this going straight into our prize pool, added on top with 1,000 from Being Esports and 1,000 from us from Rising Empires. And yeah, all of that going straight to the players. So if you enjoy this event, if you want to make it even bigger, hey, feel free to support us like you're already doing.
And if you so do, we can't thank you enough over here, of course. As Askar said, all the money is going to the players, and it helps us to be able to continue to do these games, these events.
Why is it not going to us, by the way? Like, what?
Well,
shouldn't we be having that?
Well, maybe just a little cut if we do an extra good job today.
Maybe. Oh, maybe. There's a game on, by the way. We're going to 4 lakes, and this is a matchup that I particularly like because I do like both of the French variants on 4 lakes in particular, and against the Japanese. Okay, I'll just straight up ask, who do you think is stronger here? Just Civ-wise. Don't disregard the players, just tell me, which Civ do you favor?
The more I see this matchup here on 4 legs, the more I like it for the French variants, frankly, especially French. Now, JD we haven't seen as much, but I feel like the Arbalétrier and Horseman composition in Castle is just so difficult for Japan to deal with, in my opinion. It just feels like you have to severely outplay the French or JD player in order to trade favorably or get much damage done. And, you know, this has been quite common since, most notably, the dock change that the French variants have received in the form of it acting as a house on top of a dock as well. So this allows them to get a very nice handy little eco bonus early on, as they can outright skip their first house in favor of getting extra fishing ships earlier.
It's those little things where you just don't realize how much they're going to do, coming from basically being unplayable on any hybrid to just being really good.
Indeed, and Baltune does like doing this very often on 4 lakes, as we see here, as our observer is very well pointing out. We have see a farmhouse on top of the dare with 3 villagers gathering it, right? This is quite common for Baltune. It's just a very efficient way to get the food in quickly. It also extends the lifespan of your sheep somewhat, which, sure, on this map is not as significant as on others, but any kind of efficiency that you can get without any risk, well, you're going to take it, won't you?
Yeah, and you can also not do that as the French, because you'd have to invest into an extra mill, while Japan has their gathering of the food from the houses, so that's a nice little bonus there. How much do you think the Japanese nerf on the fishing boat cost hit them, actually?
It definitely hurt a little bit, right? I mean, you know, 6 wood, significant amount at the end of the day, as the fishing ship numbers do start adding up, right?
I guess you just have like 1 less as you go to feudal age, or it doesn't amount to more?
It just depends how much you invest, right? There's different kinds of builds you can do with Japanese here. Some people opt for double dock in feudal, going up to like 8, even 10 on wood potentially. Whereas some just use this starting 5 villages that was beside build the dock in order to get a fast rage up. But yeah, we do see a double dock opening here for Japan, which I think makes a lot of sense in this matchup. Realistically, you can't do too much to contest here in feudal, right? I mean, the knights are so strong, and the French / JD player, in this case JD of course, is going to have access to a lot of food thanks to the fishing, and that's going to mean a lot of knights naturally. And sure, I mean, you also have food, and you also have a pretty strong feudal age now as Japan, I think, but knights, I mean, that's a whole different ballpark, right? So if you set yourself up very well in the Dark Age with additional fishing ships and docks here, then that means that your economy will be stronger, and you can then get a better, stronger castle age timing than beforehand. To now see 5 on gold from Baltune.
And also, if you go to the secondary pond, you will not have all of your eggs in one basket. So if DeMu decides to counterdock here, you'll still be able to maybe get to that castle age, even if you're being contested on the water. And maybe not have French run away with the knights and the game.
And counterdocking is an interesting point you bring up here, Askeladd, because typically Japanese is something that they definitely like to do on this map, right? Having access to the shinobi is huge to make that counterdocking possible and also stop opposing docks going up from your side. However, that dynamic becomes slightly more difficult when there are royal French knights on the field. Sure, I mean, shinobi do very, very well against melee units, but they're not going to kill a knight single-handedly, right? And the knights are going to keep coming. And it's so easy for JD to also add in an archery range at any point, or even, of course, JD herself could go up with a ranged John in order to, well, quite easily take care of the shinobi and prevent any kind of dock shenanigans on their side. So, you know, counter-docking as Japan here, very difficult, but also very difficult for John to do in turn because of those shinobi. So I'd be quite surprised if either of them do opt for that kind of play.
Making a good point there, but we do see an interesting tower come out of Baltune there on the front of his wood line. Not actually right on the gold, but where DeMu was just trying to spread his deer around. Gonna be keeping that angle open. He's gonna be easier to harvest those deer, and I'm expecting to actually see a second tower right on the gold as well.
It's a very defensive tower. They're just completely blocking off the left-hand entrance towards that wood line. Very, very safe tower there. I'm a little bit surprised to see it so early. It would have made more sense to me personally to put it on the gold, but then wood is very, very important. And considering the double barracks, now I completely understand why the wood is prioritized. Looks like Baltune is going to invest quite heavily in those spears, most likely to defend himself here in feudal. And oh, that's unfortunate, right? It's so easy to forget about the villager that was building the docks, and that is the case here for Baltune, right? So -1, just like that.
Yeah, DeMu running back up. He sees the tower. We got a charge on the woodline, and love the pathfinding. Everyone does, and even with the attempted body block there, it's not enough. And the knight is still here. First spears are moving out now, so DeMu has to leave. But that is 2 villagers down for Baltune. He's not gonna be happy about that one loss on the wood line.
Horrible feeling for Baltune that must be. You could see it on his face there. His mouth was agape for a moment. They're unable to believe just the way those villagers were breakdancing. Not something that should be possible in the medieval era, naturally. I mean, it didn't exist yet, of course. I mean, it's just so tough, right? Like, these type of things, it always feels like once things start going wrong, they only get worse and worse from then on, usually, right? Murphy's Law kind of situation. So I do feel for Baltune here, right? Question is, can he stabilize from this position?
Yeah. Meanwhile, DeMu behind this, we did see that he put up a dock on the second pond as well. We see him getting his wheelbarrow in now, eco upgrades coming. But we're not quite sure how the upgrade situation for the Japanese is. I don't think he'll be having too many, and DeMu's so annoying with the charges. And with Malians moving in right now, it's hard for Baltune to keep the idle time out, pretty much. He has to pull back every single time.
It's so tough with forward wood lines like this against aggressive civilizations, right? You can see what DeMu is doing. Just dancing left to right, forcing him off of the gold, forcing him to shift to the other side of the wood line, just causing however much idle time he can here to delay the castle, delay the units, delay the economy in general here for Baltune. Now, I believe DeMu did in fact set up a second dock himself on the secondary pond, so his economy is also going to start scaling up further now, right? Because initially there was no dock there in order to favor that earlier aggression, but now there is, and despite this aggression, DeMu is not going to be behind economically.
Yeah, there's the other tower that we've expected to see much earlier, but DeMu scouts it out, is gonna come back, and I don't think he can force a fight here, because there's 15 spears. Like, he doesn't want this, but he's just gonna be a pest anyway. Maybe he can get some cleaves on the mass. Yes, he gets a beautiful connection on almost 8-9 spears there. That's a lot of damage, and as long as JD stays up, he's just gonna heal back up.
A big spin there on JD, right? A lot of damage done to those spears, but DeMu does trade a whole Royal Knight for it. So whether that's worth it or not is something we're gonna We'll have to see later on in the game. But DeMu, for now, just sticking to pure Knight and nothing else, right? I think what DeMu was banking on here is that Baltune is going to greed for some sort of early castle timing, even with the spares, maybe stopping at like 5 to 10 potentially. And then if DeMu just keeps on making Knights, it doesn't matter if they are spares. At the end of the day, the massive Knights will be just so severe that at one point he can just dive and severely punish Baltune for that greed. But Baltune, still, with 4 spares in production, getting close to the count of 20 now. Doesn't seem like greed is something that he's considering at this point in time.
I was gonna say, do you actually go for the galley defense here as you try to defend that dog, or because the knights will not really care about that, and if numbers mount up, they'll be pretty fast to burn, do you move out every single time?
As the Japanese?
Oh yeah.
It's difficult, right? Because you see these knights torching the dock here, but are those all the knights or not, right? If you move the spears here without leaving any in your base, that leaves you open. If you move some of the spears only, then there's a chance that other knights or archers collapse onto the spears that did move out. That's one of the things that makes it quite scary to play spears against knights, funnily enough, is that mobility disadvantage.
Not like this, Baltune, not like this.
No way. I mean, that must be so painful, right? Even the Wolf, even the Gaia is against Baltune in this game. It's so painful position to be in. I mean, 3 villages down now. He still has an economic lead, courtesy of those cheaper fishing ships, right? That definitely is very nice for him. And with 10 on gold now and his food starting to rack up, castle may be on the cards for him. As I say that, horsemen are now in queue for him as well, so perhaps not. Archers on the field now for DeMu as well. Chivalry on the way as well to start healing up his injured knights, which now up to 11. Certainly a very scary number.
I think DeMu might actually be going for a castle play at this point as his food starts to mount up. And I'm not quite sure. It's a great choice as we see Baltune adding in some Onabugeisha. But here's another charge on the wood line. It is open on the left side. Okay, just barely pulls back in time. But yeah, if DeMu can keep Baltune in his base and occupied, then this is going to be a great play for him. But Baltune's numbers getting scary.
Numbers are getting scary, but the issue with Baltune's army is this is not an army that can move out, right? It is a purely defensively oriented army. I mean, close to 30 spears now. Horseman numbers are starting to build now, which will be very useful against the archers. But this is the issue with facing Jeanne d'Arc in this situation and why DeMu is playing it so well. Sure, I mean, there's a chance you can win a fight, but if you take losses in that fight, so much experience is going to go over to Jeanne, right? Especially because you're playing full melee here. The issue with that is, as of course, we have the ability of Jeanne to spin around and do a lot of AoE damage against melee units. That is, ideal. And Doc now being torched down by the knights. He does manage to snipe himself a ship there. Liquid DeMu does, and the knights will be backing off for now. Baltune does look to try a wraparound here. Now, there's a lot of space here, and the horseman numbers have built up as well, yeah.
I don't think they'll be making out back here, but that's a lot of experience because Baltune has to take the fight with the spear straight up into the cleave, into the archers. And if Jeanne stays up for this entire fight, and it looks like she might just do that, never mind, we're going to sacrifice the archers. So great engagement for Baltune. Needs to pay attention that he doesn't have his stragglers run into Jeanne there. But yeah, really good read from him. And DeMu deciding not to take this fight. It's probably a smart move because he needs these knights to stay up.
Yes, I mean, now with the archer numbers severely dwindled, DeMu suddenly finds himself in a bit of a precarious position here, especially with JD overextended like this. I mean, these knights can get out at any point in time, but I don't imagine JD will actually make it out alive in this position. Now, Baltune does have an option to cut across the center of his base here in order to prevent the knights from escaping on the other side, or at least some of them, and JD certainly for that matter, and that seems to be what he is going to opt for here. More units in queue here for DeMu, but Baltune has now completely stopped, and look at the macro escalade. Only 60 gold until Castle Age for him.
Yeah, Baltune's playing this beautifully. But DeMu still producing knights, still producing archers, sees that army mass, but I do think he heard that age-up coming in and he has the scout not far away. He might have just seen the floating gate get put down. Daimyo Manor is also on the way, so we're gonna be seeing a bannerman soon.
Precarious position here for DeMu, right? That is not a kind of lost fight you want to experience. I mean, of course, you never want to lose a fight, but in that specific position there, you lose so much tempo and pressure, right? And DeMu is now forced to go back somewhat. He's still going to poke in with the Knights here, gets some sort of value in idle time here as much as he can. But the numbers don't lie, right? Sure, DeMu has a very, very capable army after reinvesting, but he's very behind in terms of the tempo here, right? I mean, Baltune's almost castle age, and DeMu hasn't even started to click up yet.
He literally just clicked up, getting that ranged defense right now. So it looks like DeMu still wants to be the aggressor, or he's expecting the Onamusha. But we'll see what Baltune opts to go for. Production-wise, he's set up beautifully. I don't think he even has to put anything into, maybe into the barracks? No, he has multiple barracks as well. And it's right there. Got the Yorishiro in the archery range, so Onamusha it will be.
Onamusha it will be indeed, and Royal Institute on the way for DeMu here, which is, well, we know what Royal Institute means, right? It means bloodlines on the night, royal bloodlines for that matter.
He has 16 knights, that's a great choice.
Indeed, and you know, once these knights do get that royal balance plus 35% health, it's an immense amount of health, Askeladd. I mean, with those kind of numbers, it becomes very difficult even for Spears and Onamusha to handle these. And with so many archers on the field as well, the Onamusha numbers will need to climb very, very high indeed for them to gain any real value. Now, the good thing with Onamusha is the additional range that they have over archers, but now Baltune is looking for some sort of angle here to put those horsemen to use, but doesn't find too much except some very angry royal knights.
Yeah, nice read by DeMu there, because Baltune, if he can stop the gold, we know that Royal Bloodlines is a very expensive upgrade. DeMu will want to upgrade all of his units as he already queued. We do get the balanced projectiles in as well, but still no Bloodlines because he needs quite a bit more for that. And Baltune, his resources are really stacking up. Does he not have enough production set up already, or does he have other plans cooking?
It's a good question, right? It might be a situation of underestimating his food income here and overcompensating on land, most likely. We see 1.2k food income already for Baltune. That's certainly quite a bit, and keeping up in terms of production is quite difficult. But we see quite a mixed composition here, right? Spears, Onamusha, and Horseman. Now, Onamusha Horseman is quite a good composition to go for, and adding Spears makes it even more solid for that matter. Now, DeMu is sticking to the tried and tested Archer Knight here, now starting to queue up some Horsemen as well, with the first Arbaletria soon to make his way on the field as well. And this position is looking rather interesting. I mean, both armies are quite scared to engage in one another, rightfully so, because it kind of looks like a fight could go either way here, and you don't really want to take any 50-50 fights, right? You want to make sure that any fight you take is calculated and won. Otherwise, you know, what are you fighting for, really, except chance at the end of the day. Now, one relic is now on the way home for Baltune. One on the way home for DeMu as well. Sacred Site is locked in for DeMu at this point in time. And what I'm really curious about at this point in time is how close Jeanne is to a level up, because that could prove very, very significant in the next fight.
There weren't really any major engagement, but the timing should be just about right. We are already 17 minutes in. She should be very, very close to that age up. We do see there's the experience counter on the right side. It should be on the left, guys. It should be on the left, but it's fine. We can see it. That is what counts. So yeah, in the next big engagement, she'll definitely hit level 3.
Royal Bloodlines on the way now for DeMu, which is very significant here. You definitely want to avoid any kind of pitch fight as DeMu with all those knights and horsemen until you have that Bloodlines in queue. But I must say the mass here from Baltune is looking extremely scary, right? I mean,
99 army, and it is the Spear Horseman composition with Onamusha to deal that additional damage to those scary Bloodline Knights. This is just an I run at your face and hit you really hard composition, and I love it.
Completely correct, right? I mean, the burden of micro with this kind of a composition matchup is so much heavier on DeMu as opposed to Baltune. Baltune can essentially just afford to A-click and just has to peel some horsemen to the back line, focus the knights with Onamusha. But speaking of engagements, here it comes as a direct charge head-on by DeMu's cavalry in towards the Spears and the horsemen from Baltune. Now the fight is looking a bit rough here for Baltune, for DeMu, despite the Bloodlines coming in. Jeanne does level up. Archers are now being targeted by the Spears and the horsemen. the front line for DeMu is starting to fail. The Knights and the Horsemen are pushed off to that northern side, and the Onimusha are doing great work here against the Knights. Half of them are already dead, but there's so many units here falling for Baltune as well, and Jeanne is still alive. So much experience already. You can see she just leveled up, but she's already a third of the way to level 4 as well. It looks like a bit of a stalemate, but I have to say, I think that fight favored DeMu just slightly there.
Oh yeah, he's already almost halfway up to the next level, and we've got 27 Onimusha left now. DeMu, what's gonna be the weapon of choice? We see Jeanne's riders now being queued up. That's a beautiful choice. We do see the champion's equipment as well. And yeah, that's gonna be a great counter. Your Shiro bonus, as was pointed out, is now in the stable. No, none in the TC. What do you think of that? Is that like just because you have the fishing, you just don't need it?
A bit of a curious choice. I think Baltune wanted to opt to get those upgrades very quickly and to make sure that his production can keep up with his economy. I think there's a lot of value to be gained from putting it inside the TC, especially on maps like this where you're very unlikely to go for a secondary TC, as to why he opted to put it in his production, especially after the latest nerf to the production speed of the Yorishiro within production buildings. Is something we're going to have to ask him about after the game, if he wins, or just myself in private, of course.
Gonna be curious to hear that as well. DeMu now going for some big upgrades. We do see that, I kind of forget what it's called, so if our lovely observer just hovers over it real quick, the further improvement to the Jeanne buff to your production, which will also include the wood and gold costs, which is a big deal.
A big deal indeed. It is in fact Ordnance Company. Consecutive buildings also reduce the wood and gold cost by minus 25%. That is very significant for Siege, especially, Asker, as I'm sure you'd agree. And if Siege is on the cards here for DeMu, that is something that may prove very prudent indeed, either in the form of Spring Golds or Mangonels, because that Onimusha count is climbing way higher. But now DeMu is doing a good job in getting the crossbow stirrups, and crossbow stirrups is just such a powerful upgrade. It's essentially bloodlines for Arbaletri in the form of damage as opposed to health. That extra attack speed is just incredibly impressive, right?
You were talking about the Arbs earlier already, yes, and they do put up those Paris, then the Onimusha don't do anything to them. Then they put up their, what's it called again? Oh my god, my mind's blanking out as we see those horsemen trying to retreat. No, those are Jeanne's riders. These are not horsemen. They are special. They have extra damage against range, even more. They're a little bit beefier. They're also a little bit more expensive, but, you know, DeMu's now only paying 75% of the cost.
And this question of who exactly has better horsemen is an interesting one, I would say here. Of course, you have the royal bloodlines on DeMu's horsemen here in the castle age, but Baltune's horsemen are no slouches either, with an additional 2 damage from the Japanese extra melee damage tech, as well as the bannerman. So as to who's stronger is something that has yet to be tested, at least by me. But crossbow stirrups only a few seconds away now, and DeMu does know that that is his timing to make a grand old push here. That is the value of Royal Institute at the end of the day. You don't want to waste any time in going for an all-in move if you can. And the fight is happening. This horseman charge directly in onto the Arbaletrie, but in turn are met by Demu's own horseman. Onimusha from the back line doing a lot of damage.
Down there, but gets the heal out, gets to retreat. And the Onimusha, there's a massive amount of them. They do decent damage in general, but for a straight-up fight, they're usually just not made. There is no armored units for them to counter. We do see a nice flank by Baltune, so the numbers definitely working out for him right now. Still a little bit of his front line going, but these 21 ARBs are also still up. Jeanne going for another pass and getting pushed back. Who do you think won here?
Difficult to say, but I think
look at Jeanne's
another
experience.
good fight for Demu here. I mean, it's just inching ever closer, right? And once that level 4 is in, the cannon is going to be coming out, the extra attack speed is going to be coming out, and it'll be so tough. And really, it's this Arbaletrie and the Royal Bloodlines. The combination of those 2 upgrades is just so oppressive in the castle age, and Demu not missing a beat here, right? Being aggressive constantly here, taking full advantage of those technologies, trying to constrain Baltune into his base, not giving him any space to move out, despite the extra mobility of Baltune's composition in comparison.
Yeah, Baltune also haven't been able to find any raids towards DeMu side. He's just completely focused on the defense. Tries to snipe Jeanne again, does not find her, and the level 4 is about to come in. And then we have 26 Arbalests. There's the attack speed with the frontline, with the Royal Bloodline Knights also coming in. And you just don't want to fight right now. You want to wait until this runs out, but there's no way to retreat. This is your own base.
This is what I mean, right? How exactly do you deal with this composition as Baltune? In my mind, he made all the correct units here. Onimusha, Horseman, Spearman, everything to counter what DeMu's doing. But those technologies, the crossbow stirrup, the Royal Bloodlines, and of course, just the natural strength of those Arbaletiers, not only with additional melee armor, but also being virtually impervious to arrow fire once the Pavises are up as well. Such an oppressive unit in situations like this. And at one point, DeMu could just park himself here in Baltune's base, but probably not under the Shogunate Castle, because that is in fact a lot of damage.
Yeah, DeMu does realize it, and we do immediately see 3 rams going up. Is gonna be turning Baltune's space into a field of rubble. But yeah, that Shogunate Castle packing quite a punch. It is only 1 hit at a time, but it's a pretty spicy hit. You see Jeanne just healing up casually. And what's DeMu's move gonna be? He's floating a lot of resources behind this. He's very focused on that fight, and he's actually limited by the food. He has 2,000 food per minute, and still that is his lowest resource.
Makes sense, right? So much cavalry is very, very heavy on food, and so much gold and wood in the bank as well. A bit unlike DeMu to have Miss Macro of this caliber here, but it makes sense, right? There's such a focus on just moving straight directly towards a game win here as the Rams are tearing apart Baltune's base, house by house, farm by farm. Shogunate Castle is going to provide good respite for Baltune here. Realistically, that's not likely to go down to any Rams quite soon. Baltune now charging again to make a final stand here in this game, and hopefully a stand that will matter.
Attack speed's already up again.
Jeanne casts the attack speed, and you can see Pavis now being deployed. Horsemen and spears from Baltune are dying incredibly quickly here. The Onimusha are doing everything they can, but at this point, there's no more armored units left for DeMu, right? He doesn't really care, and with I mean, game is called decisive 3-0 victory in the favor of DeMu here in this series as he eliminates Baltune.
And DeMu is making it look really good. I feel like, as you said, I feel like Baltune had made no mistakes in this game. Actually, but at the end, you're just fighting against super buffed Arbalests with Imperial upgrades in the Castle Age, and you kind of just have to have this siege there, or get a full surround with multi-melee units. But Jeanne just doesn't give you the time.
I mentioned from the start, right? I myself feel that comp is just so difficult for Japan to deal with. And like you said yourself, in that game in particular, I really don't feel like Baltune really made any notable mistakes. Sure, they got a bit unlucky on the wood line there with the villagers and forgetting the Vil on the pond.
The Vil he forgot, okay, but the other one, there was nothing he could do.
Yeah, no, there's not much you could do about that wolf on him either, right? I mean,
to be fair, I'll just post the theory that was the other villager he forgot.
Yeah, most likely it's true. It was near the other pond.
And I was kind of hoping it was not. I was kind of hoping that was a counter dock he was preparing, but yeah, let's... It is neither here nor there. DeMu winning decisively in the game 3, even though Baltune made it look real scary when he caught him out there in the corner. But I do believe we have DeMu coming in. Do you want to do the honors?
I'll leave it to you, Escalade. You're more experienced in this matter.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Do we have sound? I do think we have. So yeah, congratulations on your win. That was very intellectual, very lectural for all of our viewers. First 2 games were really clinical. In the last one, though, were you sweating a little bit when he caught you out in that corner, or do you think you had full control of that game the entire time?
So I didn't have full control at all. Like he definitely went pretty hard on the horsemen, which I saw he was kind of making them, but I didn't know how many. I'm very happy that I escaped with all the knights, because back at home I was on 3 archer rangers just pumping, just in case he crossed the map. But overall, I think that's I know Japan is the 4 lakes civ, but since they're nerfed with fishing boats and Jeanne d'Arc's actually incredibly good there. I still felt okay, you know, especially when I went through his base, got a couple of kills and stuff, and I still felt all right.
Yeah. Like Myriad mentioned this. He said it feels like you can never move out if you're Japan. Even if you're on Horseman Spear, if you leave your base to attack you right there, you'll just get punished for it and not find any damage in return.
It's a really hard matchup. Like the first time that I played against Jeanne was against Louis online in something, and he went Jeanne, but he did like a feudal all-in where he had 30 knights and stuff, and even if you do have lots of spears, melee Jeanne, if she gets level 3, it's rough. Like, it's really rough. Yeah, I also spoke to Baltune very briefly afterwards. He was like, what the hell? Those Jeanne riders have, like, so much range armor? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, once it gets to that, and if you have on a Musha, like, they're not going to die. So there was some stuff that not everybody knows about, because very often you hit level 3 Jeanne, people are expecting those 3 little footmen, right? But those Jeanne riders are actually really, really sick.
I saw the full volley from all of the Onamusha, just putting that rider to a third of its health. It was rough going there for Baltune, but like I feel like if you're in that situation, once Jeanne has to level up, if you are putting the foot on the gas, he cannot come back. There's just no way for him. He would need the siege, but
yeah, like at some point, if it wasn't going the way it was, because I had like 60 on food or something, but given that I was ahead, because I was contemplating putting a Red Palace kind of in the middle-ish area, like by the big golds, but given that we were fighting constantly, and I was like, my Jeanne's surviving every fight. Like, fights are good. Like, if we trade pretty even, and I know my eco's very close to his, but I'm getting all that XP, it's good for me. So I just kind of like lent on. But the whole series, after watching like Vlad, you know, playing that Malian game where he's killing, I was like, I am not doing that. I am not pulling a Vlad. But yeah, I kind of went into this series just wanting to be like very aggressive, which I kind of did. So
yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah, it was.
What did you think of that tower? Sorry, we were wondering about the tower that Baltune put up. It was very defensive. We kind of would have liked it if it was on the gold. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I wasn't too worried about that at all. Like, it kind of signals to me that he wants spears and, you know, those wood-heavy units, but you need quite a few towers to defend all of that stuff. Like, again, when I played Louis, I had a fortified tower, and it didn't do anything, so I think it's just a really rough matchup.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I think I've picked your brain enough. I'd love to ask more questions about that, but real quick, predictions for our next series.
Killjardy Cat?
Yeah.
Ooh, I would love my queen to win, just so I can play him in the 3rd place, hopefully. But I think it's going to be close. I think Cat's first series on the stage, he was against Killjardy and it was 1-3. He looked a lot more confident and comfortable the second time today. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series. Killjardy's crazy. Like, you got to see that yesterday.
I do keep hearing that from everyone who plays against him. Killjardy will just turn the game weird, as Baltune put it.
One thing that I like to think about, you know how they talk about, like, insanity versus genius? But he doesn't fall on the genius part at all. It's, like, pure dumb. Like, putting that high armory where he did, like, that was proper mental. And I'm sharing a room with him as well. So I'm like, AJ. And he's like, Don't talk to me. But no, I think Killjardy's got the edge, but it's, I'd guess 3-1. But you can never count out Cat, because Cat is also, even though he's been playing pretty standard so far, he's the kind of guy that also can go like, yeah, I'm going to Zushi and then be very aggressive, then 3TC, like very extreme. But yeah.
Yeah, we saw him play a beautiful series earlier against Myriad. That was also very clean, just like your own games just now. So yeah. We do hope to see more of you tomorrow, and hopefully maybe against Killjardy. We'll see.
And Mindwalk comeback. It's the comeback of the Mindwalk. It's good.
Right. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers.
And folks, we're going to be
Shout out to TL. Shout out to TL. Best team in esports, lads.
We'll be cutting to that quick break, and then we'll be back with the last series of today, which will be Killjardy versus Cat. You just heard the prediction. You heard that Killjardy will have a slight edge of possibly insanity. We'll see how that one goes. I'm losing my headset. Folks, quick break. See you in a bit.